Welcome back to the Adventures of the Monad, which will look at life, the universe, and everything. My name is Kazim Kamal-ur-Rahim. In this series, I ask the question, where do we come from, who are we, and where are we going? I post one presentation a week. Please subscribe to my site and hit the bell icon for notifications of future videos. You can also leave comments and join in forum discussions on my website. Today, we will continue our discussions on the 4 grades of matter that inhabit our universe. We start our discussion by saying all matter starts from primordial matter, which exists outside creation in the antiverse. This is brought into positive existence by the Absolute, and the first grade of matter created is primary matter. This is composed of single one atoms and is called a monad, the smallest and primal unit of being. To continue our journey into matter, an examination is going to be made of the 3 remaining grades of matter. When primary matter has undergone sufficient cycles of involution and disintegration, it is ready for its next evolutionary step. I wish to clarify that by involution I mean the descending through the lower, denser planes of matter, from plane 2 down to plane 49. This next step in the evolutionary process of the monad begins all the way down at level 43. This is the start of the cosmic physical plane. For matter to be fashioned into complex forms, it needs a second influx of energy to convert it to secondary matter. Primary matter exhibits one element of motion, that of rotary motion. Secondary matter exhibits spiral motion as a result of receiving the second outpouring of energy from the second aspect of the Trinity, that of consciousness. The Hindus call this deity Vishnu, and the Gnostics call it the second Logos. This outpouring of energy activates the potential consciousness inherent within primary matter. It now has passive consciousness. The monad has reached a point where it has its consciousness activated. It still lacks willpower, so it cannot act on its own volition. Instead, it responds to external influences. It can be transformed into temporary thought forms, emotions, or desires. Thought forms only exist until the creative energy that shapes them dissipates, allowing them to dissolve back into their constituent components. An example using that creative energy is humanity. We think and create thought forms. We are using secondary matter when we do so. Note the fact that I am saying here that thought is a form. If secondary matter is what it says on the tin, then it is made of matter. What we think as something abstract going on in our heads is in fact a material phenomenon on the mental plane. This will be discussed in detail when I talk about the mental envelope. Once dissolved, atoms and molecules of secondary matter are free to dissolve back into their constituent parts. They have been minutely evolved by their experience. Therefore, secondary matter needs to be used by advanced life forms to further their development. What I want to draw to your attention here is that simpler forms of matter are being evolved. Firstly, the effect of having an outpouring of energy from a creative force that pulses through the universe. This force is called the second Logos. The second Logos gives the monad, the primary atom, not only a rotary motion but a spiral motion as well. This activates passive consciousness in the atom. These monads are stimulated further by more evolved monads, which use them in a number of processes. In esoterics, secondary matter is known as elemental essence. The temporary forms that are created when these elemental essences are formed into complex aggregations are known as elementals. Elemental essence is evolving downwards from plane 43 to plane 49. Its descent exerts resistance to evolving life forms such as us. Why does this matter to us? Elementals don't have self-will like us, so they are not inherently evil. They can, however, lead us into temptation, causing cravings, desires, and negative emotions. This will be examined more closely when we discuss the makeup of human envelopes of incarnation. I just want to flag here that controlling the elementals that go to make up our various bodies is one of the biggest challenges we face in our own evolutionary process. When secondary matter reaches plane 49, it begins to actively express consciousness and starts its ascent back to plane 43. Tertiary matter develops its consciousness by being part of a more advanced life form. This is what elementals do well. It is no longer part of transient forms that are being created by the willpower of more advanced monads. It now starts to be part of the permanent structure of our subtle bodies, and also part of our physical bodies. You may be asking, what do I mean when I say subtle bodies? I will eventually get round to talking about what exactly constitutes us. For the present, I wish to emphasize that matter evolves. As it does so, it expands its consciousness. When it evolves into tertiary matter, it possesses memory and can be incorporated into our bodies. This is what constitutes our physical bodies. It can also be incorporated into the structures that we cannot see with our physical eyes. These structures are just as much part of our being as is what you can physically see. The important point to have in mind is that tertiary matter is capable of learning to perform automated tasks. This grade of matter can also learn behavioral patterns, which it follows until it is told to do otherwise. Ever driven down a familiar road and found you cannot remember actually going down it? You have tertiary matter to thank for the fact that you have not crashed into a tree. The cells of your body knew how to automatically drive down that road. Your body had the memory of what it had to do, even if your focused attention was somewhere else. There is a downside to this automation. It is the fact that we tend to respond to stimuli without having complete control over our responses. We need to catch automated responses like anger and reprogram our behavior. In this way, we rule our tertiary matter and not the other way around. To clarify, our physical body is composed of tertiary matter. It acts within cells and organs performing basic functions, which we do not consciously control. You do not control your digestion or your kidney functions, yet it happens. We do, however, oversee these functions to a degree, and in time we can learn to control them. Take the instance of yogis. They are able to slow their heartbeat down to rates that science says should not be possible. The permanent consciousness of tertiary matter allows storage of memories. This is why transplant donors can sometimes experience memories that have come from the donor of those organs. Trauma and phobias from past lifetimes may be carried from incarnation to incarnations in specialized atoms and molecules. These do not decompose at death and carry the blueprint for our next incarnation. The main point I wish to get across to you is that we have a grade of matter that makes up most of our physical bodies. This matter is also found in our subtle bodies, and for the time being, just let's call this your aura. What is important to note is that there is a clear distinction between secondary and tertiary matter. Secondary matter has gained consciousness, but that consciousness is passive. It can only be acted upon from outside. Tertiary matter has limited memory, so that it is now able to learn simple, repetitive tasks. In this way, it gains experience through the uses it is put to. We now come to the last grade of matter, known as Quaternary matter. This matter possesses its own will. It is therefore responsible for its actions and evolution, guided by advanced beings. Where does this willpower come from? We have already spoken about the second logos and the third logos. Quaternary matter receives its willpower from the third outpouring of energy that comes from the first logos. This is the case of the last being the first. The first logos dispenses the energy aspect of the Trinity and is known as Shiva in the Hindu tradition. The whole scheme of evolution of matter is presented below. I will talk through what this diagram is representing. On the left margins of the diagram are the divisions between negative and positive existence. The major division in the process of involution and evolution occurs at the boundary between the cosmic planes and the solar plane. Primary matter traverses all the planes of the universe, from plane 1 to plane 49. It does this 3 times. It then enters into the solar system as secondary matter and continues to evolve downwards towards plane 49. Secondary matter then evolves further into tertiary matter and begins to evolve back towards plane 43. Tertiary matter then moves back through plane 43 to plane 49. It is not involving anymore. It is just moving from plane to plane. Here it is incorporated into the structure of the triad chain. Finally, on reaching plane 49 again, matter evolves into its last form, that of quaternary matter. It now begins its journey home. It traverses through all the 49 planes of the universe until it reaches plane 1. There it finally sees itself as a completely liberated monad. It is now omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent on all 49 planes of the universe. Quaternary matter begins its evolution as a 43-1 atom on the monadic subplane of the solar system. It descends to the 49th plane so that it can self-consciously evolve through all 49 planes back to the first plane. Tertiary matter is also considered evolutionary. It has also descended to the 49th plane. It will evolve back into higher planes to be incorporated into subtler bodies. When it returns to the 43rd plane, it receives the third outpouring and continues its evolution as quaternary matter. It should be remembered that all this time we are talking about the humble monad. This is the one atom that started its journey into the universe on the first plane a very, very long time ago. I wish to also clarify here that the nomenclature 43-1 is stating that the monad is now located on the highest subplane of the 43rd solar systemic plane. How does the monad, having gained the initial spark of willpower, go about evolving further? It does this by assembling a chain of 9 atoms and molecules into 3 triads. These atoms and molecules are made from tertiary matter. The monad focuses its consciousness into the 6 atoms and 3 molecules of this triad. It sequentially uses these focal points of consciousness for its entire journey through the solar system. I wish now to draw your attention to the phrase focal point. The monad may be a tiny little atom, but it is a mighty powerful one and cannot descend any lower than the 43-1 plane of matter. If it did, it would quite literally fry anything it came in contact with. So, it sits at the top of the cosmic physical plane. There it directs its focus into the 9 centers of consciousness known as the triad atoms and molecules. How can it be in 2 places at once? It isn't really. It just focuses its attention down into the lower levels of matter where it gains experience. This allows the monad to be able to have experience of the cosmic physical plane and in this manner expand its consciousness. It is a mistake to look upon the monad as an all-knowing conscious being. When you consider a few minutes ago, it was just a tertiary atom. It had limited memory, so where did it get all this wisdom from? It didn't. That is the whole point of focusing its attention into these triad bodies. In this way, it gains knowledge and wisdom. We discuss this long and drawn-out process soon. Our real self is a single monad, an atom of quaternary matter. It should be noted that the ensouling monad of the mineral, plants, animals and angels are also single quaternary atoms. Each monad is on a journey to expand its consciousness. To finish off this presentation, I wish to look at 2 more topics. The first of these are physical matter. The 49 atom, or to be precise, the 49-1 atom, are the fundamental particles of the physical plane. These atoms go to make up all physical and etheric matter around us. Science is still looking for this atom, and they will never find it, the reasons for which are too complicated to discuss at present. As has been previously stated, each lower plane is composed of atoms from the previous plane. As a result, 49 atoms are composed of 48 atoms. Simplified, the matter of the lower planes is composed of matter of the higher planes. This explains how all planes occupy the same space and interpenetrate one another. Lastly, I wish to talk about the phases of matter. The ancients said that there were 5 phases of existence. These were earth, which was solid, liquid, water, air, which we know as gas, fire, we would interpret as being plasma, which are dissociated atoms. Finally, there is ether, which scientists call ether. Ether is a subtle matter filling all space. It supports the propagation of electromagnetic waves. It should be noted that there is nowhere in the entire universe that is not filled with matter. Interstellar space is composed of 1 atoms all the way down to the 42nd plane. Space that occupies our solar system is composed of 43 atoms down to 48 atoms. All manifest matter dissolves back into 1 atoms, which go back into the antiverse to begin manifestation again at a later date. Whenever I present a table of planes of matter, they are always 7 in number. The categorization of the 5 types of matter has its roots in the past. What I am suggesting in this series of presentations is the assertion that matter vibrates at a different rate on each plane or subplane. The lowest 3 phases, 49-7, 49-6 and 49-5, correspond to solid, liquids and gases. The 4 higher phases, 49-4, 49-3, 49-2 and 49-1, are all called etheric, and science refers to these as subatomic particles and dark matter. This ends our initial look at the structure of the universe. I felt it was important to start from this lofty perspective. I wish to outline the matrix into which all further discussions could be molded. We have started from a state of infinite potential, and through the focused will of the Absolute, a universe is created. Into this universe comes the most fundamental of all particles, the 1 atom, which is also known as the monad. It is the further adventures of this monad that are going to form the basis of future presentations. I thought, however, it would be worth presenting how this monad progressed through the 3 previous stages of existence. These states are defined as primary, secondary, and tertiary matter. The monad finally becomes a quaternary atom. It is now conscious and has memory, but more importantly, it can develop willpower. That is a huge achievement, and it has taken unimaginable amounts of time to get to this point. This process has been aided by the fine services of the third logos, the second logos, and the first logos. They collectively bring about all the states of matter and consciousness found in the universe. The focus of the next series of presentations is the multidimensional human being. If you wish to read a transcript of the presentation or leave a comment, links to my website are in the description box below. Thank you very much.